This is the WEN DF680iX portable inverter generator. I just wanted to share my experience with this in case anyone else is considering it. I have been using it as a backup power option at home, and I have also taken it out for a couple of trips where I needed reliable power that would not annoy everyone around me. If you are someone who wants to keep a refrigerator running during an outage, power a few household essentials, run tools where you do not have an outlet nearby, or keep an recreational vehicle setup powered, this is the type of generator you are probably looking at. It is also for anyone who cares about running more sensitive electronics without worrying about messy power. What makes this one stand out in day-to-day use is that it is a dual-fuel inverter generator. In normal terms, that means I can run it on gasoline or on propane, and it makes cleaner power than a traditional open-frame generator. The dual-fuel part matters more than I expected. During a longer outage, I had gasoline on hand, but it was nice knowing I could switch to propane tank if I needed to. Propane is also less of a headache to store, and for me, it is usually easier to keep a couple tanks around than it is to rotate gasoline constantly. Physically, it looks modern and more closed-in than the old-style generators. The side panels are not just for looks. In real use, that closed design helps keep the noise more contained. It is not silent, but it is the kind of sound that feels less sharp and less aggressive than a lot of contractor-style units. I have run it in the evening, and it did not trigger complaints from people nearby, which is honestly the main standard I care about. If you have ever lived next to someone running a loud generator, you know what I mean. Build-wise, it feels solid. The plastic panels do not feel flimsy, and the control panel area feels like it can handle normal outdoor use. It is heavy though. When I moved it the first time, I immediately noticed the weight. It is around 95 pounds, and that is the reality check. I can roll it around easily once it is on the ground because the wheels and the telescoping handle do their job. Rolling it across a driveway or packed dirt has been fine. Lifting it up into a truck bed is where I slow down. I can do it, but I do not love doing it alone. If you are planning to load it in and out often, you should assume you might want help. Setup was straightforward, but there are a couple things I wish were clearer for first-time owners. It ships without oil, so you have to fill it before you start it. I used the included funnel, and that helped avoid spills. The first fill is not complicated, but you do need to take your time and check the level carefully. After the initial break-in, I found it wanted a little more oil than I expected, so I topped it off, and it has been fine since then. Access is easy because the side doors open quickly, so I am not fighting a bunch of screws every time I want to check something. If you want electric start, you connect the battery leads, and that was basically just plugging connectors together. No complicated wiring. I appreciated that because a lot of people buying a generator do not want a project before they even get to use it. Daily use is centered on the front panel, and it is laid out in a way that makes sense once you spend a few minutes with it. The digital screen is actually useful. I ended up checking it more than I expected because it shows you what you are pulling in real time, and it helps you avoid guessing. When I kicked on a bigger load, I could see the draw jump, and it made it easier to decide what else I could run at the same time. Starting it has been consistent for me. Electric start is the way I use it most of the time, and it saves effort, especially when the generator has been sitting. There is also a pull start backup, which I tested once just to make sure I could. It worked, but I am glad the button start is there. Switching between gasoline and propane is simple in practice. Propane is the easier one because you connect the hose and open the tank, and you are basically ready. The quick connect style fitting makes it feel more like hooking up an air hose than messing with a bunch of adapters. Gasoline is normal generator life, but I do like that it has fuel shutoff. When I am done running gasoline, I can shut the fuel and let it run until the carburetor is dry. That matters because stale gasoline and gummed-up carburetors are a big reason generators become unreliable over time. I have dealt with that on older units and I do not want to deal with it again. There is also a carbon monoxide sensor. I want to be clear about this. I still only run it outside, away from doors and windows, because that is the safe way to use a generator. The sensor is more like a backstop in case conditions get unsafe, like wind shifting or someone doing something dumb. I tested it in a controlled way by having it running outside and paying attention to how it behaved, and I am glad the feature is there. But I do not treat it like permission to use the generator anywhere near enclosed spaces. For outlets, it covers the bases I actually use. I have used the regular household outlets for a refrigerator and a freezer, and I have used the recreational vehicle outlet on a trip. I have also used the United States B port for charging a phone and a tablet, and it is convenient to have those on the generator itself when you are trying to keep things simple. The outlet layout makes it easy to plug in larger cords without everything fighting for space. One feature I use a lot is eco mode. In real life, this just means the engine is not screaming when you are only charging devices or running something small. When the load increases, it ramps up. I found it most helpful at night when I wanted to keep basic things running and keep the sound down as much as possible. Now for actual performance. During a power outage at home, I ran my refrigerator, my freezer, my internet equipment, and a few lights. The generator handled it without drama. The clean inverter power also matters if you are powering electronics like televisions, laptops, and network gear. I have used cheaper generators in the past where I just did not feel comfortable plugging in sensitive stuff. With this one, I have not had issues with devices acting weird, and I have not seen flickering or instability on my electronics. I also tested it with heavier loads in short bursts, and what I liked was that the screen gave me enough feedback to stay within limits. It is not about bragging rights. It is about not tripping breakers when you are already stressed out during an outage. Runtime is decent, but it depends on what you are doing. At about half load, I got around 6 hours on gasoline and close to 9 hours on propane. That matched what I saw in normal use. It is enough to get through an evening without touching it, but it is not an all-day set it and forget it situation unless your load is light or you are prepared to refuel. I personally wish the gasoline tank were a bit larger, mostly because waking up early to refuel is annoying. But that is part of the trade-off with a more compact inverter-style unit. Noise is one of the reasons I would choose something like this over a traditional generator. I have run it during the day and later at night, and it stayed reasonable. It still sounds like an engine, but it does not have that harsh open-frame roar. If you camp, tailgate, or have neighbors close by, that difference matters. There are a few things I do not love. The weight is the main one. The wheels help once it is on the ground, but lifting is still lifting. I also sometimes wish it had remote start, because walking out in the rain to start or stop a generator is never fun. I can live without it, but it is something I notice. So overall, after using it in real situations, I think the WEN DF680iX makes sense for someone who wants a practical inverter generator with the flexibility of gasoline or propane, enough output to run real household essentials, and noise that is more manageable than the old-style units. It has been easy to start, easy to monitor, and easy to live with as long as you accept that it is not light. If you have questions about how I am using it or what I tested it with, leave a comment and I will try to help based on my experience. If you found this video useful, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment with what you are planning to run on your generator. Thank you for watching.